Thank you, everyone. So when we talk about International Youth Day, before we get started, we want to also do like a quick check-in. This is how we start all our meetings at the Afro Women and Youth Foundation. We want to be sure we want to just know how people are feeling. So if you're comfortable sharing, let us know how you're feeling today. I can go first. I am feeling a little tired. I've had a very busy day. I've done some, work and all that, and I'm feeling a little tired, but of course, this is very important to me, and I'm here to give it my best. So, who would like to go next? We're not kind of passing it right now. It's just anyone who feels like they want to share with us how they're feeling.
I can go next. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Debbie.
I'm feeling good. I'm looking forward to the meeting and getting to meet. I mean, like, not everyone in the meeting, but getting to see how everyone is gonna give their feedback at the end of the meeting. So yeah.
Engagement is very important to us, and we like to hear feedback. Thanks, Debbie. So, who else wants to share how they're feeling today? How are you feeling? Good, happy, sad, a little tired, excited?
I can go. I feel really relaxed because this week has been really busy for me. So it's really nice to just be at home and like get enough sleep and stuff.
Oh, and to also get on a Zoom meeting with friends and
Yeah.
thank you, Tomiwa, for sharing. Who would like to go next?
I feel relaxed also.
Okay, that's cool. It's good to hear that. Okay, one or two more people, and then we'll move to the next slide.
You can also leave some chat, okay? If you don't
Yes,
want.
feel free to make use of the chat. If you don't feel like unmuting yourself, feel free to drop your feelings in the chat and we'll catch them. Okay, if there's no other person, Debbie, keep an eye on the chat for us. We'll just move to the next one. So for every of our meetings, we always have rules that we create, and sometimes we have a list of them, and we just ask people to kind of add to them. But today we've only added just one, and would like to, hear from you. How would you like us to proceed tonight? Very important for us is respectful conversations, and we'd just like each of you or anyone who's interested to add to the list. Any thoughts?
Adding on to like the respectful part, like just be open to what everyone has to say and be very mindful of other people's feelings and thoughts.
Absolutely, that's very good. We have to be mindful of other people's feelings and thoughts. Deborah, if you can leave that in the chat, just to remind people. Any other person? Thank you, Ture, for sharing. Who would like to add to our list of rules for tonight? Okay, we have respectful conversations. We want to listen to other people's views and allowing them to share their thoughts. We also want to make use of the chat. If you don't want to unmute yourself to speak, feel free to engage in the chat. We're going to be watching that and we're going to catch every information that we have in the chat. All right, so we're going to move forward to the next one. Now, what are we here for today? We're here for International Youth Day. And what is International Youth Day? International Youth Day was launched by the United Nations in 1998, and the purpose is to elevate youth issues within the international community and also celebrate the potential of youth as partners in our global society. At Afro Women and Youth Foundation, we believe that youth voices matter. We believe that you all are leaders and you all are change makers. So we're having this event today to celebrate the value that you all bring to our community, to the work that we do at the Afro Women and Youth Foundation. And of course, we want to learn from somebody who is our guest speaker tonight, who's going to be sharing insights and knowledge into what digital technology is and how we can leverage that to transform our communities and also our society at large. So that is what International Youth Day means. Any thoughts? Have you heard about International Youth Day before? Is this your first time hearing it? And what does it sound like to you? Any?
For me, it's my first time hearing about what International Youth Day is, and I also don't know what it is about either.
Okay. So it is again to elevate youth voices within the international community. So this day is being celebrated across the world today. Not everyone is celebrating, but at least it's a day dedicated to youth, and a lot of programs and activities are happening around the world, and we're happy to also be a part of that. Any other person who would like to share? Okay, we can move forward. All right, so the theme for this year is From Clicks to Progress, Youth Digital Pathways for Sustainable Development. Again, you see the icon on the left-hand side. I know many of you are on your devices doing one thing or the other, you're always clicking. And where is that click, or where are those clicks taking you to, right? We want to be sure that it's taking us forward towards our goals and towards how we change or transform our communities. So that's the theme for this year. And we have a speaker that I'm going to be. Sorry about that. So we have a speaker for tonight, and our speaker is Sesugh Hulugh, and he's going to be taking us into the conversation, leading us into the conversation tonight. And the focus areas are understanding career opportunities in digital technology, how to harness digital technology as a tool for transformation, and also safety tips for digital engagement. And if you go, what happened? Okay. Oops, I'm sorry. Okay. All right. I think that was me. So yeah, our speaker tonight is a software and data engineer. In the last 16 years, he has had the opportunity to work on several data and software projects, leveraging Microsoft and several databases. His love for continuous learning and knowledge sharing led him to start out his IT career as an IT training professional, and he has worked in several IT training firms. He was once a young person like you all on this call tonight, and he's going to be sharing with us or leading us into the conversation tonight. So without wasting time, I'm just going to pass it over to our speaker tonight to facilitate the session. Feel free to engage, ask your questions, leave your questions in the chat. And yeah, so over to you, Sesugh. Thank you.
Hey guys, thank you. So I'm pretty excited to be here, and I just want to give you a sneak peek into the world of technology. This is something I know you're all familiar with. You have phones, you watch TV, you play with the computer, but we also want to take it beyond that point. So as you grow older, right, you find out that you have to start taking a bit of responsibility in life. You know, you want to be able to um, earn. You want to be able to be responsible. You want to be able to be safe while using all these digital devices. So my aim today is, like Adebola said, I work as a software engineer, and I want to be able to sell that career path to you guys. I want to be able to see more people like me in the field, right? It's fun, and it's also, I would say, the remuneration is also fair. So you would imagine being able to work from any location, and not being restricted by where you live and all that. So it can get really fun. And what I'm trying to do today is to be able to convince you guys to start taking a look at career paths in technology. And there's also a baseline. So even if you don't want to have a career path in technology, virtually every field in life today requires some bit of knowledge about technology. And it's in Spider-Man, right? Where they said with great responsibility, with great power comes great responsibility, right? So with having the power to be able to talk to people around the world, reach out to people in different locations, you also need to understand that there are measures that you need to take to be able to be safe online, right? So I came up with a slide I which I would share and then we'll walk through. And while we do that, I'll also share a couple of insights with you. So let me share my screen. Screen three. You able to see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So just a second. So I try to share and let me bring this to the other side. Bring this here. And then I share again.
Was saying, okay. I was gonna
Yeah,
say.
so I have about 3 screens, and
Mhm.
when I share the highlighted is going into the middle screen. So let me share that screen and then so just like today's topic saying from clicks to progress, right? So you digital pathways for sustainable development. And this is my name. My name is Sesugh Hulugh. And these are the few points that we're going to be covering today. So one of the things we'll do is I'll introduce myself. I'll talk a bit about what I do, and then also try to relate that with our everyday lives and then what we come across. So I would also talk about what technology is, and then why you should even care about it. We'll also take a look at some options, that's a career paths that you could actually venture into when it comes to technology. And then we'll also see, I'll share a couple of links with you. I'll show you a couple of really nice and cool sites that you could actually start learning how to do a lot of things, including writing very small and simple programs on your own. And after that, we'll take a couple of questions. And we'll also do, so basically, this is me. See the glasses, right? So I work as a software and data engineer, right? So my job basically requires being able to safely collect, transport, and store data across different locations. And there are a lot of cool examples of software systems that we use. I'm sure a lot of us play video games. We go online, we probably might have Instagram accounts, maybe email accounts. Some of us have had the opportunity to play with the most recent AI system, ChatGPT. Some of us have been able to use Microsoft Word, Excel, or PowerPoint, sometimes on our phones. So we're familiar with these things, but out of curiosity, have we ever thought about what happens behind the hood? So when I go online, I fill a form and I click on a button. What happens? Where does that information go? Right? With technology, you're able to play video games with your friends across the globe. So these are some of the things that a software engineer does. So we write programs that are able to collect that information, manipulate that information, and then push that information to where it's supposed to go securely. And one of the key things is we have to make sure that as this information is moving from one location to the other, it's being done in the most secure way possible, so that people or bad actors, as we like to call them, would not have access to this information. Especially in the Western world, yeah, people having access to your basic information as much as your name, your date of birth, and all that will be able to impersonate you to, and commit fraud that would almost look like something that you've done. So this is basically a highlight of what I do. And there are quite a lot of examples you will see as we move forward. So let's talk about technology. So technology is all around us and helps us make our work easier, faster, and more accurate. Some examples of important systems that use technology include the banks, the airlines, and the hospitals. So aside the fact that we can play games, we can chat, we can go online and interact with people via social media, they are really critical systems that run on technology that without them, we would not be where we are. So there were times when I remember as a kid, I would want to go visit a friend, and I'll travel hours just to get home, just to realize that he's actually not there, because there was really no way to pick up my phone and call or send a text message to say, "Are you home?" So imagine how much time I would have wasted. But we were so used to it that it was normal for people to travel very long distances just to go and realize that the person they are going to see was not available or was not even there. So these are some of the gaps that technology has been able to bridge over time. So over time, you will realize that if you want to go and visit someone and you call and you can't reach them, or you send a message and you don't get a response, you will not go. So there's so many things down to the banks. Now you're able to sit here and do transactions, send money to people all over the world. We're talking about introduction of technologies and concepts like Bitcoin, things like that, right? We talk about the airlines. It's so amazing how the planes fly. If you in Canada, in Toronto, at the airport there, you statistics of about maybe 500 to 1,000 planes land and take off every day on a runway that probably would not be able to carry maybe 20 planes at a time. But people have been able to write computer programs that calculate when the plane is landing, when the next one is taking off, and be able to create a slot for everyone to land and take off very effectively. Not to talk about the hospitals, right? How important it is for the hospitals to be able to store and manage your information so that even in the event of emergencies, they will be able to quickly access that information to treat patients, right? The hospitals have stored data over the years that they also use for research. So what they do is, a simple example would be, okay, we're taking the statistics of people who have had, let's say, fever over the years. And then we're able to see that all people who have had fever probably have some characteristics. Either it's for a certain age, either it's from a certain location, either there are certain symptoms that we've noticed, right? So with all that information, they're able to build a history and say, okay, if someone comes in and the person is exhibiting this symptom and that symptom, it's easy for them to deduce that what this person is having fever. So, if you look at that, the importance or the uses of technology, we really cannot overemphasize it. So I have a small, should I say, a chart, an arrow chart here, just showing the evolution of music and musical devices. So I remember as a child, my dad had this thing they call the turntable, right? It looked like a disc, but it was big, round and black, and it couldn't carry as many songs as much. But it was what they had at the time. It was completely analog, and they would play music with this. And once that gets broken, it's completely unusable, and they would have to, go buy a new one. And then over the years, radios came into play, and then we had radio cassettes. So that was during my era. So if you look at my background, I have about 3 pictures there showing that's a telephone. That's what we call a telephone. Then that's a radio cassette, and also a diskette. I'll talk about the diskette shortly. So those were the kind of things we had back in those days, and a radio cassette will be able to store about some could store 60 minutes of music, some could store 90 minutes of music, and we would and we would use these things to play music. And they had this very brown tape that could easily go faulty. Once the tape squeezes or something happens and that tape cuts, then you've lost all the songs that you have on your radio cassette. So while it was an improvement from the era of using turntables, it also had its own pain points. Well, another thing we did is it was really small and portable, so it was easy to have it in your pocket and go about with it. Then came the era of compact discs or CDs. These ones were a bit larger, fuller, and they could store some at least minimum of like 700 megabytes of data. So they could store lots of music, right? And the compact disc looked like the turntables, but they were now the smaller version. That I'm sure many of you would have encountered, right? For those of you who play video games, I'm sure you've seen like the game discs. So we had those for music, we had those for movies, and it worked really pretty well, but it also faced the risk of scratching, and then you also faced the risk of easily getting broken. So that era came, and then that era passed, and then we came into the era of iPods and MP3 players. So these were smaller devices that could carry music in. So they were like flash drives, or what we call flash drives now. But they had the component to be able to connect your earphones and then listen to music. And it was a great improvement and a great shift from the era of using compact discs, because with this now you could actually store, connect it to your computer, copy out as much music as you want, play it for that period, and then you had to most of them had batteries that you would need to charge, and there was a small all-in-one player. With a compact disc, you still needed a deck, right, to play your music. But with this, it was an all-in-one player, and all you needed were phones to listen to music, and they came in different sizes. Now they came in gigabytes where you could store hundreds and hundreds of songs. And then once you get bored with those songs, you could even copy them out or erase them and then, impute fresh music for your listening pleasure. And that has come, that has gone, and now we're in the era of cloud technology. So cloud basically is where information is stored somewhere remotely, somewhere outside your own computer, right? And Spotify is a typical example, which is like the one I have. And, this has taken everything to a whole new level. So all you need to do is have an account, sometimes have a subscription. There are also free options available. What they do is there's no limit to the amount of songs you can listen to. All you need to have is an internet connection. There's no limit to doesn't matter the size of your device anymore, because everything is stored somewhere online. So once you pay your subscription or you opt in for the free option, all you need to do is connect to the internet, sign into your account, and listen to as much music as you want. One of the key benefits that this, for me, has come with over the iPod and the MP3 players is, for the MP3 player and the iPod, you still have to collect music, right, and store it to be able to listen to it. So with cloud versions like Spotify now, I can think of a song that I remember and I can search and pull down that song and play. So you don't have to store anything on your phone. You don't have to store anything on your computer. You can have real-time access to any music you want as long as you have internet connection. So with all this said and done, we would also like to talk about what technology and how we can stay safe online. So one of the major issues with technology is the fact that while some people can use technology for good other people would also use it for fraudulent purposes. So it is key that we understand some of the risks that come with things that people can do online, especially identity theft, pulling out, getting information from you that should be private and personal, getting credit card information. Today, people make a lot of payment and transactions online. So we'll talk briefly about some of the things that you should take note of, you should avoid, and then I'll also give you some examples of some of the things that I do personally. When, let's say, I get an email from someone I'm not familiar with and I want to verify, or I get a text message, right? So I've listed a couple here, right? One is, do not provide any personal information over the phone or on social media to anyone you do not know. Some of you might not have bank accounts now, but you could get calls once in a while and saying, I'm from your bank, right? One of the things to do is to always not provide any information if you're not sure. And then also, you don't provide your PIN, you don't provide your email, you don't provide your date of birth. Those are critical personal information that can be used, to defraud you. You can always end that call and make another call back to your bank, right? Because you have access to the mobile app, you have access to all that information. You can reach out to your bank to clarify that information. Then you always verify the email sender when you get an email from an unknown address. So when you go online to log on to websites, I will show you a typical example. So let me see if I can drag this. Can you guys see my email account? So this is an email that I've gotten from Zoom. So most times when you get an email, there are two things that come with an email, the name and then the actual email address. So here you can see that the name is Zoom, right? And then the email address is reply@zoom.us. So one of the things to take note of is the name can always be anything. So for instance, I can say, when I'm sending an email, I can put the name to be, let's say, CIBC. So once you open an email, you will see the name. It could be anything, but sometimes you don't verify the actual email that is sending, that has sent it. So one of the easiest ways to verify, and which is what I usually do, is to always look at an email address. So an email address is made up of three parts. The first part will typically be the unique name for that email address. Then after the @ sign, you have typically two parts, right? The @ sign, and then you have what we call the domain. So when I build a website, I usually host it, assign an address to it. So it's like when the house is built, an address is assigned to that house. So that's the same thing with what a domain is. So every website online has a domain. And that domain is what is used to locate that website. So you type in the URL into your browser's address and you're able to locate that site. So what I typically do when I'm not sure is I come in and I copy the domain. Whatever I have after the @ sign, right? I copy it and then I open it in a browser. So typically what I've copied here is what zoom.us. So opening this has given me the guarantee that this is what actually coming from Zoom. And it's the same thing with your bank. Your bank will always send you, once they're sending you an email, it will always be the domain that is coming from that will always be what the website of the bank. So it's something you should always take note of when you access information online or when you receive an email that you're not very sure, right? And also, you should not respond to suspicious text messages, text messages or phone calls. And then also, do not accept friend requests from people you do not know online. So I'm sure if you listen to the news, you most times hear about how a lot of establishments, a lot of organizations have been hacked. So it's interesting to note that 90% of the hacks you see around come from what is called social engineering. So social engineering is where someone reaches out online, becomes your friend, and they gradually build out a relationship with you, right? Sometimes there are people you've never met, and gradually they try to ask personal questions and try to get some personal information from you. So you should be really careful with that, because that is mostly where people get some of these information from people, right? And then you should always use strong and unique passwords across your systems. One of the things you should never do is the password you use for your email, you should not use to open an account. Let's say you're opening an account on Spotify or you're signing in on PlayStation, you should avoid using that same password. And you should come up with something to make the password unique across every single website that you visit. So one of the trick a friend used to do is he can have his password, let's say password 123, and then or in the middle he puts the name of the website. He can say password Yahoo 123, password Google 123. Something that would easily get you to remember. To be able to remember some of those passwords. And the whole idea is, if for any reason there's a hack on any site that you've visited, signed in and stored your credentials, what those people do is once they extract that information, the first thing they try to do is go to that email address and see if they can sign in with that password. And then they try to start checking random sites to see if there's anywhere they can sign in with that password. So with this, you're going to reduce or minimize the effect of any hack in the event that your credentials have been compromised with any existing system. Then you should also turn on two-step verification wherever available. WhatsApp has it. Most applications now have it in such a way that you tie that to your actual phone number. With this, even when someone has access to your system, they are given a challenge to provide a text message that will be sent to that phone. So once the code is sent to your phone, you're able to easily log in. It can be, a cumbersome process sometimes when every time you have to log in, you have to go through that stress. But trust me, it's something that's really worth it, and it's something you should try not to take for granted. So let's move on to the next slide. So what are some of my options? So I talked about these are just very few. Technology has evolved over the years so much so that there are so many career paths in technology, so many. Now I've picked just a few just to talk about and give you an insight to what it require, what some of these job roles require. There are so many of them, right? But these are some of them that I feel that will really be, interesting for you to start up with. So one of them here we have is an office suite and basic computer applications. So this is a must-have and a must-know for everyone, right? And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to start with it. Even if you don't want to pursue a career path in IT or in technology, this is something that you should know. You should be able to turn on your computer. You should be able to check the size of your hard disk. You should be able to check your emails. You should be able to create a table in Microsoft Word. You should be able to create a PowerPoint slide. You should be able to, do a few calculations in Excel. And using the computer it's like using Facebook or Instagram. Nobody tells you where the buttons are. Nobody tells you what these things are. But once you continue to play with them and use them, you gradually get a hang of it. And it's just the law of use. So once you continue to have a computer and you're using it, you don't need any special classes to be able to get the hang of using a lot of these tools. It's mostly trial and error, and then there's always a lot of documentation online, right? Then software and web design. Well, this is my field, so I have a bias to this. I wish everyone could actually decide that they're going to be software engineers after today. It's fun. So I started out as a child, I loved riddles a lot, and there were times when if I don't come to school and there's a difficult riddle in class, they'll keep and wait for me to come back just to come and answer that riddle. And it hasn't even stopped there. The previous place I worked, usually what we do in the morning, every morning, is we have meetings that are called daily stand-ups. And in daily stand-ups, people discuss what people assign stories. These are called stories, what you're going to work on for that day. So first you report what you worked on for the previous day, and then you also talk about what you're going to work on for that day. So one of the things we did as to break the ice during those sessions is coming up with riddles. And I really enjoyed that part of answering of the riddles. In fact, after I left that team to work on another team, when they had riddles and they could not answer, they would always send them to me for me to find the answer to those riddles. So curiosity is basically where I'm headed. Curiosity led me into learning how to write computer programs, right? And interestingly, I didn't start this at a young age. I started it when I had finished the university. So I can imagine how easy it will be for you guys to start this at a young age. It's going to be it's like learning a language, right? And once you practice this and you get a hang of it, it's going to be really, really easy for you to do that. And all it has to do with is solving problems. So there are problems, and then you have to write programs to solve those problems. So there are structures, there are algorithms, and you're told about it. And it's quite simple. You write programs like if else. If you can, a simple example is I'm writing a program that only adults can access, right? So if somebody comes in and I say, okay, fill in your age, you fill in the age, and I'll check if the person's age is greater than 18, then I allow you to go in. Else, I send you a rejection message. It's as simple as that, and that's all it builds up on. And then graphic design is also something really cool. It's cool because you get to see, you get to use your imagination to be able to build beautiful designs and products for people to see. So it's something that is fun. It's something that you can also, research and delve into. Animation. I'm sure we a lot have seen a lot of animation movies. We've seen adverts online. We've seen videos that are created from nothing. So these are graphic characters that mimic human beings or mimic even animals and all that. And it's also a really, really cool and interesting field to get into. The cool thing about animation is all you need to do is use your imagination. You can make a human being to fly. You can make a human being to do whatever the physical person would not be able to do. So there's really no limit to what you can do with the skill of animation. Then user experience design. User experience design cuts across so many fields, not just IT, but in every technology. The whole idea is about how human beings interact with technology. So if I'm designing a website, right, I want to be able to put what will attract people to my website on the homepage. I don't want to hide the important buttons, right? I want to be able to create a flow that will make people enjoy that experience. So user experience is something called, it's being able to design things with the person or the user in mind. So you put yourself in people's shoes and you say, okay, if I open this website and I see this button, right, I'll put a very big button to make you click and things like that. So you try to attract people and then guide their flow through using that application. And it's not just for that, it's even for building a house. If I'm building a house, where do I want to site my living room? Where do I want to site the staircase to make it easier for people who come in to be able to go to the cars, right? We've seen how cars have evolved over time. Now we have technologies in cars that can alert you when a car is in your blind spot. We have technologies that you can actually talk to your car. We have technologies that can even alert you when you're leaving your lane, right? Lane departure warning. Recent cars even have, so it goes on and on. So the user experience designer tries to think of things that will make life easy or more enjoyable for whoever is using that device. Data analysis. Data analysis is basically, I like to call it predicting the future. So it's a concept where you're able to pull information from past experience to be able to predict the future. And as human beings, we are basically all data analysts. because what we try to do over time is to what, learn from our experience. So if I took this route and there was a lot of traffic, then I would not, next time when I'm going, I'll try to what, use an alternative route. That's a simple analysis, right? But data analysis tools now helps us to be able to what, make some of these decisions even without having to think too much about it. A typical example would be, let's say, a company that makes jackets, right? If I own a company that makes jackets, I will definitely want to produce more jackets during the winter because I know that people would need that more. So I will be able to sell more during the winter. So we all know that, and we could. So I might get to the point where I might realize that, oh yeah, I'm making more jackets, but which demographic should I target? Should it be adults or should it be children? Should it be which gender should I target? Should it be the male, female? Which location? Which location are people buying my jackets from? So you see that so many variables are coming into play, right? And it becomes difficult to be able to think about this in your head. So what the data analyst will simply do is to gather this information. Oh, all the jackets we have sold in the last 5 years. Are we able to find out the number we've sold, the gender that we've sold more to? Are we able to find out the location that people have bought more jackets from us? Are we able to find out the age group that likes our jacket more? So there are two things. One is I can decide to produce more to capture my target audience. The second thing is I can decide to say, okay, what will I do differently to be able to capture that audience that are not buying my jacket? Why are they not buying it? Right? So these are some of the things that the data analyst does. And then the network engineer is the guy that glues almost everything together. So like I said in the beginning about my job, right? You're gathering information and transporting it across the world, different locations. But these things are running on a specific infrastructure, right? So they are the people who manage and handle the hardware. Your phone is a hardware, the computer is a hardware. So they handle all these things to be able to push. So they manage the infrastructure that every other software application relies on, right? For transportation, for security, and all that. So there are many other fields. There are so many other fields in IT, but I just thought to mention just this few to what arose your curiosity. So let's go back to where do I start? So I'll be showing us a couple of cool sites I've seen over time and over the years, and that I think are really fun for different ages, right? So one of the things I would really encourage us to do is to learn how to navigate the computer and use basic software like Word and Excel. There are links online, there are YouTube channels that you can use. I'll share a couple of links that you can also use to see, to learn how to use this thing. But to be honest, just opening that app and playing around with it, you would realize that you will find your way around. And most times when you get to learn things by struggling with them for yourself, you almost never forget them, right? And then you can also read, research, and identify what you would love to do, right? Like a career path you would love to follow. At age 12, at age 13, it's not too young for you to be able to decide where you want to go, right? And start following that because, like I said, I started learning programming after the university, and I wish I knew it much earlier. So imagine you're able to do this, you're able to start this at this age, right? Imagine what you will be able to achieve when you get to that point, or when you get to the age that I am now, you will be far, far better, right? And then you can also connect with like minds and you can always find a mentor, right? And LinkedIn is it's a social network for work for professionals. And it's a good place to start out to create an account and also mm, connect with people that are doing what you would love to do. I think the minimum age is about 16. 16 years, I think. Yeah, there's something you can also research. So I just wanted to have a quick video I just want to show us, and then I'll go through a couple of links that I think are really cool and nice that I would share with you guys to explore. And I'm hoping that that will really, get you guys really, really interested in the career in technology. So I'm not sure if I'll be able to get the audio, how that works, but let me play and see if you can actually hear me. Be able to hear the audio?
No, we can't hear anything. You can maybe put the link in the chat and let me play from my end. So we'll see.
Okay. All right, let me do that. So have that. I'll stop sharing. Once you can play, then I'll
need to record anything.
Can you hear that?
Yep, I could hear it.
Yes.
Let me share from my end then.
Over the internet, I cannot think of a more seamless way than Riverside to do it. The problem with recording interviews remotely, computers are all around us. From laptop computers to smartphones to smart watches, they're changing the way that we live our lives. But have you ever asked yourself, what exactly is a computer? A computer is an electronic device that manipulates information or data. The computer sees data as ones and zeros, but it knows how to combine them into much more complex things, such as a photo, movie, website, game, and much more. Computers use a combination of hardware and software. Hardware is any physical part of the computer, which includes the internal components and the external parts like the monitor and keyboard. Software is any set of instructions that tells the hardware what to do, such as a web browser, media player, or word processor. When most people say computer, they're talking about a personal computer. This can be a desktop computer or a laptop, which has basically the same capabilities, but in a more portable package. Personal computers come in a few different styles. The most common type uses the Windows operating system. Macs or Macintosh computers feature the Mac OS operating system, while Chromebooks run on Chrome OS. Smartphones and other mobile devices mostly use the iOS or Android operating systems. We'll talk more about operating systems in a later video. Computers come in many other shapes and sizes. TVs, game consoles, and even appliances like refrigerators can have built-in computers, although they may not do everything a desktop or a laptop can. There's another type of computer that plays an important role in our lives: servers. A server sends information to other computers on a network. In fact, every time you use the internet, web servers deliver the web pages that you want to see to your computer. Servers are also used in many offices to store and share files. As you can see, there are many types of computers out there, and each one plays a part in our modern world.
GCF Globe.
Thank you for that video. So I'm hoping that with what we've shared, this would at least build your interest to, wanting to explore more and understand how computers work. So it's not just enough to be a user, in my personal opinion. Curiosity should lead you to, trying to find out how does these things happen under the hood. Why am I just being the person using it? Why am I not being part of the people who are building what people will use? And if you look at some of the people who have come up with amazing inventions, right? They are also some of the richest people in the world also. So it's not just something you will do, but it's something you would enjoy doing and you'll be able to make a very fair living out of. Someone was said, find the job that you love and you will never have to work another day of your life. And that is how I feel about working with computers. So I have a couple of links here that I'm going to just give you an overview of what they look like, and then we'll share the link with you guys to go in and explore. So one of them that I have here is called Scratch. So I'll go back to the home page, and Scratch is a site that has been built by MIT over the years. And what I've tried to do is share resources that are free, right? And this has been built over the years, and there are thousands and thousands of young children and people who come on Scratch. And Scratch uses a user-friendly interface to teach you how to write computer programs. So even children can learn, and even adults can use this to start out their programming experience. So you come here, you can actually view examples of different games and different animations and videos that people have created. And you can also create yours. You can either create an account, or if you come here and you click on create, you can actually see this. There's also a video here that will introduce you to how you can use Scratch. I'll leave that to you to play around with much later, right? And then you can come over here. So when we're writing computer programs, all we're doing is creating things like this, right? So, but here you're able to drag and drop. So at the left here, I have this is a sprite, right? And I have this guy here that I can actually use all these things to make him do a couple of things. So at the end of the day, the limitation is just your imagination. The tools are there. Once you understand the tools, you're able to create so many things. So here I have something that says move, 10 steps, right? So if I click on this, you see that the guy on the left moves. I can change this to, let's say, 100 steps, and if I click on this, the guy moves what? 100 steps. I can bring him back, and you gradually you can use what this to create what your building blocks. You can add sound, you can add events. An event is what something that happens, right? So here I can add this and say, when this green flag, you see the green flag is at the top right hand corner here. So when the green flag is clicked, I want my sprite to move 100 steps. So I can come here now and click on the green flag, and you see that that's moved 100 steps. So there are so many things that you can do and you can play around with, to you can say turn 15 degrees. I can add that here, and once I do this, I click on start, it's going to work, and then it has turned 15 degrees. But if I want it to turn 90 degrees, I can actually change this, bring the guy back. When I click that, it turns 90 degrees. So it gets even more interesting. You can add sound, you can add costumes, and you can actually change your sprites and play around with it to do so many really, really cool things. So once you come on this site, you can also see samples. There are also tutorials here that you can actually view. You can see samples of what other people have done and also build up on that to be able to create really, really cool animation and games. So it's a good starting point to get into programming for everyone. There's no minimum age for people who can use this. Another cool site that I have that I would like you guys to also take a look at is something similar to that. It's called code.org. This is also free, and it has different options creating the same animation. So you can also play around with this, check the different options that they have. You can sign up and you can use them to create animation and then write code. So it's something similar to what you have, right? And it has what learning and projects for different ages. So I would also like you guys to take your time out, play around with this, view some of the projects other people have done. Yeah, they have over 311 million projects that have been created. So you can, so it's really, really an interesting thing to take a look at. Then I would share another site which I think will be fun for the slightly older people, right? Older people. Here you can actually learn so many different programming languages and how to build stuff. So at the end here, at the top here, you can see the different um, available programming languages. There's one called HTML that you can actually use to learn how to build websites. And one of the cool things about it is that anything I do, you have what they try it yourself option. So once I click here, it's showing me what this is a heading. So I can make changes here, and then come back and then also take a look at what the outcome would be. So I make the change, I click on run. You see that's made this a bit smaller. You can actually add colors. There's so many things you can do, but this will gradually help you to be able to learn how to build a website. So in building a website, there are basically three programming languages that you typically use. HTML is what you use to design the structure of your site. So if I'm building a house, I want to say the living room should be this size, the kitchen should be this size. That is what HTML does for you. Then there's also CSS is what used for styling. Styling basically has to do with what color and positioning also. So I can say I want this to be red, I want that to be white. I can all do that with what CSS. So, and then JavaScript is used for interactivity. So I've built my house, I've designed the structure, I've painted the house. Now I want to automate my house. So when I come and I click on the switch to turn on the lights, that's an event. If you remember what we did or what we took a look at in Scratch, that's an event. An event can be like clicking on your switch to turn on. When I click on that switch, I expect a reaction, an action to happen. So JavaScript can help you to do that. So I encourage you guys to take a look at it, play around with it, and you figure out, you realize how easy these things are. Then another of my favorite sites is something called Solo Learn. I've actually used this for many years, and this also has a couple of similar programming languages that you can learn. It has HTML, CSS, but what I really like about it is the fact that they have mobile apps. So mobile apps you can install on your phone, right? And it's easy while you're on the move, while you sit down, you're bored. Instead of playing games on your phone, you can actually go through these interactive coding classes, and they are really, really good. So you can actually go through these classes and learn. And what I really like about it is, if you can see, these are some of the courses that I've done. And what I like about it is that at every step, it teaches you something and it gives you a quiz, right? So you answer those questions, and with practice and all that, you're able to gradually learn how to use them. So for Solo Learn, there's a paid version which you don't have to. It's a completely free version that you can actually use to get to learn. So, and there are a lot of many other resources out there that you can search, you can learn how to use. And with all these things, we're in a country and in an era where internet is cheap. When we were growing up as young people, it was difficult to get access to internet. So you had to go to the cafe. And so I grew up in Nigeria, and you had to go to the cafe, and most times it was more affordable to go and pay for what we used to call overnight browsing. So you had to go pay and stay in the cafe through the night just to be able to have access to internet, at a very, very low cost. So we, at this point, with the kind of access to internet and information that we have, technology that we have, I can only say that we are our only limitation with anything that we want to do. So I would stop here and pause. We have any questions as regards this, as regards anything that has to do with technology that you think I might be able to help with. Thank you. I hope this was an informative session. And I'm waiting to get some LinkedIn connection from you guys, and that you guys all want to pivot into tech at this point. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sesugh. We are so grateful to have you. That was a very informative, very insightful session. We're so grateful. Yes, so over to the participants. I'm sure that you guys would have some questions or maybe comments. So we'll just leave you to share your questions. Feel free to unmute and ask your questions. If you want to use the chat, feel free to do that. And our speaker will be more than happy to answer your questions. Sesugh, do you want to stop sharing so that we can see faces? And
okay.
Yeah, if you also want to turn on your camera, feel free to do that. We love to see
faces. If
faces.
you want to put your questions in the chat, you can also go ahead and do that.
Sure. Are people still on the
questions? How many people are considering going into tech now? You can answer in the chat.
We have a question in the chat.
Okay.
What is the best AI?
What is the best AI? So it's a subjective question, right? It's like asking which is better, Facebook or Instagram. So it depends on the use case, and it depends on that person. So one of the most popular AI platforms we're most familiar with is ChatGPT, and other organizations and other companies have created theirs. Microsoft has it; it's Bing. I think Google. I don't know the one Google has introduced, but they basically do about the same thing. Most times, what you need to do is to understand how you can ask your questions, right, to get your responses back.
Okay. Thank you. Any other question? Tire, Tamiwa, Joanna, Kemi, anyone? Do you have questions, comments about the career pathways? Any comments? Okay. No questions, Joanna.
Actually, sorry.
Material, go.
Okay, I actually do have a question. If you're thinking of going into like engineering and stuff, what do you know like the best university to go to for that?
Well, I think in Canada we have quite a lot of really, really, really good universities, right? It will determine on your preference. It's something you can research. Waterloo has a good university, University of Toronto, Western University, McMaster. So it's there are quite a lot of good universities. But I think it will determine your location, how far away from home you want to go, and then of course you can also do your research online to see ratings from some of those universities.
Good question. Thank you, Tire. Tomiwa, you wanted to say something before Tirenemi?
Yes, I just wanted to say thank you, sir, for giving us this information, because when you use Scratch, I recognize it because I had to do something with that in grade 9. We had to do a whole coding thing with that in grade 9. So it was very familiar to see that, and really nice to see that it's not just something that school tries to implement. That's actually things that people use in the real world. So
yeah, it is. Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Shamira, for making that connection. So we have some IT people in the house.
You do, yeah.
Okay, any other question, comments? Okay, so it looks like we're gonna finish earlier than we planned. Uh, we will be sending the links and also the recording when it's ready. We'll share with all of you. We have a feedback form that we would also like you to fill before you go tonight. But if we don't have any questions, we just want to say a big thank you to our speaker for tonight. Thank you for making yourself available. Thank you for sharing your knowledge with us. Thank you for sharing your experience and the things that you're working on currently. We're grateful for all the resources that you shared. We would also share all those links with everyone who's on the call tonight through an email. So, and we really hope that you would continue to be available if we need you to come again to share, about technology with us. So on that note, I will also drop the link to our feedback form in the chat. Before you go, please try to complete it. We only have a few, like maybe 3 or 4 questions on it. Please feel free to complete it. And that would help us to plan future sessions.
We have a question.
Okay, there's another question in the chat. Okay.
Yeah, I think someone is asking if the coding apps are completely free, or would we have to pay to access particular services? So for all the ones I've shared today, they are free. There are also paid services out there, but there are really, really a lot of free resources that you don't at this stage have to pay for anything.
Awesome. That's good to know. Okay, thank you for letting us know. So once we share the links, if you need to get started with any of them, please sign up. I believe people have to sign on them, like have an account before they can use them.
Yes, some of them, yes, yeah.
Okay. All right, so we have our feedback form in the chat. Please feel free. We'll just give like 5 minutes for you to complete that, and then we'll wrap up the session tonight. And while you're filling the feedback form, if anyone, thinks of something, if you think of anything, a question you want to ask, a comment you want to make, maybe about the safety measures for online engagement or for the career pathways, feel free to unmute and share, or feel free to drop it in the chat. Okay, so while